This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, SiriusXM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, the VSiN Watch app, YouTube TV, wherever you're watching or listening. Thanks for hanging out with us. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. Yeah. I'm Stormy Buonantony. We're live, as always, in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Still 6-2 for the Red Sox, right where we sit right now?
It is. Nothing has transpired since we last spoke about this 4 minutes and 17 seconds ago.
Okay, good to know. You got to keep up with these things. We will dive into the rest of the Major League Baseball slate a little bit later on this hour. We'll have best bets at the end of the show, as always. A couple plays for me in the 3M Open headed into tomorrow. We will also continue our NFL training camp tour coming up in 15 minutes. But first, to college football we go.
This is the Money Moves College Football Top 25 Rankings.
Oh, yeah. The Top 25 reveal continues.
Just so you know, we've already done Penn State.
You're the worst. But
so we're
doing another one of my favorites today.
Same color scheme, too.
A different shade of blue.
I mean, how different?
BYU.
Yeah, I was going to say.
BYU Cougars, ladies and gentlemen, who, I don't know about you, I feel got robbed last year, finished 12th
Shocker.
in the final college football playoff rankings, but held out, of course, of the playoff. 11-2 on the year, did go on to win the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That is the consolation prize, I guess, for being held out of the CFP.
The only way this could be more stormy is if Chris Norman somehow played for the BYU Cougars, and that would be it.
Oh, Texas Tech, your rightful favorites, though, in the Big 12. Once again, of course, the two losses that BYU had last year, both to Texas Tech, one in the regular season, and then that drubbing in the Big 12 championship game. So I think that on the surface already, though, before we get into the, as you like to say, nitty and the gritty of BYU, their schedule, the way that this roster is made out, the expectation on the surface for BYU has to be, you need to go 11-1 one loss team maybe going into the Big 12 championship game or win the Big 12 again.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that's the path.
We got that standard set for them last year, didn't we? So that's pretty much how it's got to be. And I do think that they probably have the capability of doing it. Returning production, I think you feel pretty confident in sitting here and saying, okay, let's take a look at the team that we had last year and expect that they're going to be able to recreate some form or fashion the statistical output that they had a season ago, and then measure it with the schedule that they have so far this year. So this is a team that under Bachmeier a season ago offensively was a pretty efficient unit. I think when you looked at where they potentially lacked for BYU, I think you're really looking at Bachmeier himself. They were a pretty mundane team in terms of generating explosive plays through the air. If you look at it from a percentile standpoint, they're ranked in the 16th percentile in pass explosive rate and just explosive play rate overall. They really relied on their running game to generate a lot of the explosive plays. So I think that's where you would really like to see the step forward. In today's day and age in college football, but in football in general, you've got to be able to generate those passing plays of 15 or more yards with some consistency, and that was one of their biggest weaknesses as an offense last year through the air.
Yeah, need to improve in the passing game, no doubt about it. But I think that I look at Bear Bachmeier and don't say, oh, sophomore slump coming. I think he's just going to get better based on what we saw last year. 3,000 yards, 26 total touchdowns. Obviously, he's the threat with his legs, 11 of those coming on the ground. The games that they lost, he was dealing with injuries. Like, you knew when he was dealing with the injury in the Big 12 championship game that they don't stand a chance against Texas Tech when that goes down. So he is the key, the centerpiece of everything that BYU needs to do to be successful this year. Senior running back LJ Martin stuck around for another year after a 1,300-yard, 12-touchdown season for him. Sione Moa, another big, tough back who can hammer away. So I think they'll have the ground game no problem. But to your point, it's can he take that next step? And with Aaron Roderick still being the offensive coordinator here, somebody who really, really believes in his young quarterback, I think they can. Plus 550 for them to win the conference behind Texas Tech, who is now a minus 105 number, so taking a little bit more money. Satake has really glowed about Bear Bachmeier's growth, attitude. They're going to have opportunities on the big stage with this Big 12 schedule and, of course, face Notre Dame in the non-conference as well. They come to Provo, and while, yes, it's very likely they lose that game, I think even in a loss, if he performs well, if this team performs well, in the eyes of the committee, it will be a good loss for them. I mean, Notre Dame could be the best team in the country this year. Bear Bachmeier at 55-1 as well. From a Heisman standpoint, if he makes the improvements we talk about and performs well with this schedule, I think could be worth a look.
Your love for BYU is mostly tied to them making the college football playoff and potentially winning the Big 12?
Yeah.
Not in the national sense of winning a national championship?
No.
Okay. Just got because I find the comment interesting that they're very likely going to lose against Notre Dame for a team that you're high on, because you would assume that you're more bearish on their chances in a game like that if they're a little undervalued. But you still think there's that gap between them and the rest
I do.
of the yeah.
I think that
You're also a very big Notre Dame.
But I'm
You're
just saying,
Notre Dame alum,
the
aren't you?
Notre Dame's, Ohio State's, shut
You
up.
and Tim Murray.
They're in a class of their own in my mind.
So, I mean, I would say this. The odds to make the college football playoff for BYU, maybe playing something like that, or to win the Big 12 at plus 550. I mean, am I crazy at looking at the schedule and going, man, like, okay, what are you circling outside of Notre Dame?
No Texas Tech this time around.
Nope. And your toughest road trip is going to be at Utah coming up on November 7th. So that's a tough spot. Rivalry game, obviously. A road game against one of the better teams in the conference. Outside of that, everything's pretty manageable for you. If you're BYU, your other toughest opponent that you're going to get in conference play, Arizona? Is that what you would say?
Yep.
Right? I mean, and you're getting them September 12th. You're getting them at home. This seems like a schedule that, man, you should be ready to go. I would say, though, too, I mean, like you said with the big picture, not much margin for error. Assumed loss against Notre Dame. You probably can't lose that game against Utah. And then all of a sudden, you're talking about a 2-loss, and obviously a third loss will knock you out of it. But it's going to be tough. Not a lot of margin for error in the college football playoff, it would seem.
You know what I'm mad at myself about? We didn't pull the stat of me on the sideline for BYU games to add to this preview, because that would have really just bolstered it that much more.
I mean, how many games are you on, though? That's the
we don't know
question.
yet. That is a thing real quickly because
I have it, too, by the way, if you would like it.
Sure.
Because this is what I do. I keep track of these sort of things.
How did you pull that up so quickly?
It was on Twitter. I mean, so we put it out there. So never mind. I don't have it. I'll have to get it.
One of those.
Well,
Look it up in the commercial. But it was, this is something that I've been asked a lot recently as we are getting nearer to college football. Like, oh, do you know your schedule yet?
Yeah.
No. And like, I obviously will find out whether I do a week 0 or a week 1, week 2 game. I'll find those games out early, but throughout the course of the season, I find out on Sunday morning after my Saturday game where I'm going that week. So I never know. So just know that answer. The answer is no, I never know. Let's get to number 14 on our top 25 as it rolls on. And it is the LSU Tigers $40 million roster, top-ranked transfer portal class, new QB1 as a part of that, and Sam Leverett coming over from ASU at the forefront. Now he is coming off, though, JBT, that lingering foot injury last year, had surgery in November, needed another cleanup in April. Lane Kiffin did say a couple weeks ago he was pretty much at full strength now, though. But do you remember last year? I was so mad about this injury because I had inside intel that it was a Liz Frank injury, which is what it ended up being. And so it was it the Texas Tech game? Had to be.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. So I go into that game under the impression, like, there's no way Homeboy's going to play. It's a Liz Frank injury. He plays, they win. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing in the whole world. And then, of course, he ends up being lost for the rest of the season beyond that. So my question is, will he be the same guy? Didn't do much in the spring, but a very accurate passer, mobile, great leader, charismatic, like all the factors that you want in a quarterback, and has the skill set.
Yeah, I mean, the question is just how effective he's going to be if he's going to be healthy. And that's what we talked about some of these games in the SEC. If you get LSU early, I think you're feeling relatively good about it just because you don't know what his effectiveness is going to be. I'm also curious what LSU, because I think I have this somewhat blind faith that Lane Kiffin's going to be able to get this offense to be above average, whatever it is. It's definitely going to be better than it was last year. I mean, you look at some of the numbers for this LSU team last year, 113th in EPA per play. The passing game was bad, but the rushing attack was anemic, 128th in the country in efficiency there. So I expect this team to be good. The question is it going to be great, and is it going to be good enough that they're going to really take a big leap forward? And you have some of these tricky spots on this schedule. Now, you do get the benefit of playing some of your tougher opponents at home, Texas, Alabama, Texas A&M. But you got to go out to Ole Miss, which is going to be a dramatic game in that third game for you on the schedule. We've mentioned the unknown nature of what Auburn is. What if you're right about Kentucky? So I do question whether or not.
Even Clemson, week 1 in the non-con.
So I don't know if going over at minus 115 over 8.5 wins is the way to go. Probably 8 seems about right for Lane in his first year. But if Levitt is everything you expect, there is a chance that the upside of what Sam Levitt is, and if he's fully healthy, pushes them through this schedule, and they can actually push for 9 or 10 wins.
I mean, this is, with all of the money that is invested in this roster and the talent they have, expectations are sky high, right? And you make the hire that you make. Lane Kiffin leaves Ole Miss before the playoff to come here. You want to win and win now. Win total is just 8.5, though. The odds to make the college football playoff, plus 160. Odds to win a national championship year one off a 7-win season. With the way that this team has been retooled, 18-1. Like, it's very prohibitive to bet on LSU.
Yeah, it seems very much like we see this all the time with the sexy offseason for a lot of teams in every single sport, that maybe a lot of this success is really baked into this market, and it might benefit you to look under on some of these things. Not to be, a downer, but it just seems like because of the popularity at the window, eventually when some of these public bettors get into the space, because they're not betting these now, they're going to get in there by the time we get closer to the season, that you're just looking at a number that everything has been shoved into, and maybe even wait till we get closer to football season to see if any of the public action really drives us forward, and you can bet some unders on this team.
Top of the board in the SEC, Georgia plus 260 to three-peat. Texas behind them at plus 310. Texas A&M plus 850, as is the Alabama Crimson Tide. By the way, Kalen DeBoer and the Tide were at the podium today at SEC Media Days, and then LSU at 9-1. So they're fifth on the board just for the SEC alone.
You want your trend real quick? I do have it.
Yeah. Or can you save it?
Sure.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
Because
it's a perfect trend, much like this documentary is perfect.
Exactly. Before we hit the break, I do want to remind you all, as we're broadcasting here from Circa Resort and Casino, the Circa Survivor doc premieres when? You're supposed to say tonight. I needed your little voice break. Tonight and every Wednesday, later on this evening, 9 p.m. Eastern for episode 1. You're going to go inside the growth of what has become the most electrifying contest in sports betting. 18.7 mil was on the line last year. You can follow each and every week the stakes. Follow the sharp minds, bold personalities who think they have what it takes to go the distance. Again, every Wednesday beginning tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm excited for the stat because if it's as good as I remember in my brain, you're going to want to bet BYU if I'm on the sideline.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Money Moves on a Wednesday, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live in downtown Las Vegas. Last segment, we were doing our college football top 25 reveal, and one of the teams that we previewed was the BYU Cougars, where there's a crazy stat, and if I ever do get a BYU game this season, which is very likely based on the expectations for them this season and how much Big 12 I've covered in recent years, that I will, you're going to want to know this stat. So what do you got?
I lost it, actually.
No, you didn't.
Stormy Buonantony has worked 13 games for the BYU Cougars. They are 13-0 straight up, 10-3 against the spread over the 5 years and 13 contests in which she has both been on the sidelines and been a victim of some sort of, it's not a victim, that's strong, but they've been trying to get you to join the Mormon church for a very long time. So that's part of the reason why. It's actually might be number one.
They are like one of the best sports information departments in the country. They treat me so well. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, they treat you well.
I love covering BYU football. Got a great relationship with Kalani Sitake, all that good stuff. But the margin of victory, too, is worth noting. Granted, a lot of those results did come in the 2020 Zach Wilson COVID season where they were just crushing everyone. But still, 13-0 straight up with the games that I've worked, I think is pretty interesting. That said, from college football, we go to the NFL as our tour continues.
Join Stormy and JVT as they go on the Money Moves NFL training camp tour.
Yeah, we are, JVT, from Hotlanta yesterday to Duval today. Take a look at our new flashy map. How about that?
Okay, we're of course, I'm driving because I can't trust you at all. But we're making the swing. We started our road trip out in Carolina, and now on our way into Jacksonville.
My arm looks a little bit scrawny, I would say. I can do a push-up now, so I've been...
Push-up, we'll specify. Should also note to our crew, I mean, do I do this? Are we driving through the Gulf of America right there? Is that like what we're doing from Tampa to New Orleans? I assume we're going to drive along the coast.
Oh, I didn't really think about that side of it. 321 miles from Mercedes-Benz Stadium out there to Jacksonville, 5 hours and 40 minutes, according to our wonderful producer Justin Emery's research. So thankfully, we didn't actually have to make that drive, and this little graphic can do it for us.
Our crew, I was just joking. It looks great, so please don't try to correct it.
It's a 10. It is a 10. Yes. So year one under Liam Cohen, as we get into the Jags preview here, this is something that, as you saw on the map, we're going to be doing throughout the coming weeks, going team by team. 13-4 in year one, AFC South title, came up short in the playoffs yet again, as we have seen for Jacksonville in the past. 27-24 loss to the Bills in the wild card round. And fair to say, a lot of criticism of the Jags offseason to this point, because the draft was a little bit questionable. Some of the moves they made didn't make a lot of moves in free agency. All of the expected starters on both sides of the ball for the Jags this year all suited up for them last year. They filled all of their voids from within. Lost Devin Lloyd. And my biggest question mark is what they lose in the running back room with Travis Etienne, which is going to take some getting used to saying his name that way.
Yes. Yeah, what is it? I'm not even going to ask. Yes, you are. Yeah. I would agree with all of these points. I mean, in today's National Football League, we're always focusing on the offense, and that's going to be it. I mean, Trevor Lawrence of the Jags had a really strong run at one point, but the question of the sustainability and what Lawrence really is, I think, still lingers. It was one of the burning questions for the most part in our NFL guide when you looked at it. I think the way it was presented was, is he going to finally become elite? I think he has been an above-average quarterback, but really, it's been just in that category. 14th in EPA per dropback, 16th in DVOA, 20th in passer rating a season ago, despite the successes of this offense. You need a quarterback that is going to push you beyond if you're going to do it at times, or you have to have a complete team, which the Seattle Seahawks just did. Special teams, defense, everything else. I don't know if Jacksonville has that.
Okay, I'm excited we kind of disagree on this a little bit.
Okay.
So the defense was like the most improved unit in the entire league last year.
Yep.
Went from, in 2024, 31st in yards per game, allowed 28th in points per game, to 11th and 8th in those categories, less than 20 points per game on the year. Gave up the second highest rating to quarterbacks in 2024, held them to a sub-80 rating last year. Second most takeaways in the league, and I know that's something that's hard to translate from year to year, but still a team that has a secondary that should be one of the strengths of their defense again this year. Offense, obviously, we saw something click with them the back half of the year with all of the games they won, the yardage improvements that we saw with Trevor Lawrence. You can tell Liam Cohen, whose job, like he was tasked with coming in here and trying to get the most of Trevor Lawrence, to borrow the phrase we've been using a lot in college football lately, to kind of unlock that next level of him. And I think we started to see it the back half of the season.
We did, but I'm going to be fair in this sense. If we're going to play this game for the New England Patriots, we have to play it for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Las Vegas Raiders, the Los Angeles Chargers, a good win. The Arizona Cardinals, the Tennessee Titans twice, the Indianapolis Colts twice, the New York Jets. Those were all their opponents over the course of that winning streak that they had to end the season. It's not like they were beaten up. Now, they do have a win over the Denver Broncos over that stretch, but I will also remind you, what did we talk about the Broncos down the second half of the year? Something we had harped on our Sunday show a ton. The Broncos had really taken a step back on defense in that second half of the season when they came out of their bye week. So a good win nonetheless, but a vast majority of their opponents during the hot run that they had win on Jacksonville were a lot of really bad teams. And so you do wonder, some of the successes defensively that they had, especially at the back half of the year, how much of it was it driven by the opponents they were facing? And you know me, let's invoke Denver once more. You know how I feel about Bo Nix in that offense, and at times how stuck in the mud it got. And the reason why Bo Nix had success was his defense desperately kept him in every single one of these games till the fourth quarter, and then he gave him one field goal drive to save their bacon. And you do wonder if what you saw from Jacksonville a season ago with their defense, I'm not saying they're awful, but they finished in a lot of top 5 categories in terms of EPA per play, success rate, somewhere in that range. Are they closer to 15 or are they closer to 1? And I think the reality is they're closer to like 15 than they are to 1.
Well, tell me, look at their schedule this year. Yes, They have the Broncos and the Texans twice, but what gauntlet of defenses are we playing this year too? Like, I think that there's a lot of potential for that offense still to have success this year.
And I think we're getting miscommunicated here. I'm talking about you're talking about the success of the defense, which statistically they were dominant. I'm saying they faced a lot of bad offenses down the stretch.
Okay,
right.
Yes.
So I wonder, like, we don't want to
I thought you were going back to Trevor Lawrence, and I was confused.
I want to like overstep. want to overstate that. Like, I wonder, I don't want to overinflate their success defensively. Offensively, if you're looking at this, I mean, you're right. The schedule could present some opportunities for you because you're talking about at the beginning of the season, I think the Browns are an above-average unit, we'll call them, on defense. We know what the Broncos can be. We'll see what the Patriots are, considering they themselves beat up on an easy schedule. You know, the Eagles, the Texans. I think we'll learn a lot about Jacksonville in these first few weeks heading into the bye, especially that double London swing. I mean, Eagles and Texans is a pretty tough stretch for Jacksonville. So maybe you wait. I mean, once you get past your bye week, Stormy, I think you do open up with some opportunity to potentially have a similar season that you just did, because then you're talking about getting the Colts. I know you and I are high on the Titans, but you're getting them twice. What if Harbaugh and the Giants aren't as good as you think they are? You get them week 11. So there might be some opportunity for you here as the season goes along to potentially rack up the wins maybe a little bit later, and maybe you wait on some adjusted win totals or to win the division if you're high on Jacksonville.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, it's tough to remember like how we're talking about and doing these deep dives on each of these teams throughout. It's tough to forward think down to, you know, week 7 when they're in their bye week and resetting and going, okay, yeah, they faced a gauntlet, but the rest of their schedule is very manageable to buy in on them then. So maybe this is another like reminder for you to put it in your calendar or do something like that. Hey, check in on Jacksonville futures or whatever at this point midway through the season, because those first 7 weeks are going to be really challenging, and they could come out of it with, I mean, let's say 4 wins and then go on a run because of the opponents that they have after that. But this is a team that, like, I could very easily see repeating in the division. They are my pick in the division. I know we've had the back and forth about the Texans, but Houston's not a team either one of us, like, particularly, I think, believe in.
We don't believe in them offensively.
Fixed. Yes.
Yeah. We believe in them defensively.
Well, who doesn't?
Well, I shouldn't say we. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
okay.
like that's just a given. But offensively, like we're not totally sold on C.J. Stroud, and if the offensive line fixes are going to hold and stay healthy, there's a lot of questions still, I think, for Houston, whereas Jacksonville, I think, is the most complete in the division on paper.
Yeah. I mean, they are.
The running back room I do have questions about, though.
Sure. I think that's fair. And, like, look, winning the AFC South, congrats. I mean, it's not the most daunting division. Again, we think the Titans are pretty alive to make some noise there, too. Our boss, Steve Cohen, told us today he's high on my Indianapolis Colts. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition once we swing through Indy on our training camp tour. But even with my questions about how effective they were statistically a season ago, that's all still going to be good enough, to your point, to win this division. The question just becomes, when do you want to play it? When do you want to invest in it? And I would wait, because I think that beginning portion of the schedule is a lot trickier to navigate heading into the bye than I think people are realizing. We've seen the Browns even pull these upsets, like bad versions of the Cleveland Browns. So God forbid a good Deshaun Watson shows up for a single game. I mean, I don't think this is going to sound crazy. Would it be? I don't think it would be stunning if they had one win going into their bye week.
I would be stunned if it's one win.
I mean, at the Broncos, at the Bengals, we're high on the Bengals. Neutral site games against the Eagles and the Texans. I don't know. I think that beginning portion of the schedule is really tough.
It is really tough. I totally agree with you. But I think that they'll steal a couple of those.
Okay.
I just like Jacksonville this year. I have brought it up several times. But what's Bashal Tutin going to be without Achane? You know, like he hasn't had to be the bell cow yet. But maybe that goes, I don't know if you remember a couple weeks ago when we were talking passing yards leader, I brought up Trevor Lawrence in that conversation at 20-1. Part of it being the weapons, yes, around him through the air, but also the questions that I had in the running back room. Like, I'm very curious what he's going to be, because clearly they believe in him. The fact that they didn't bring anybody in to backfill that says a lot, I would assume. So do we give them the benefit of the doubt?
I have a follow-up question for you.
Okay. We got to step aside on Money Moves. Stick around, though. More coming up on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
NFL training camp tour continued last segment in Jacksonville as we were previewing the Jacksonville Jaguars. We left the segment with you saying you had a question for me. What would that be?
So it's one question with a follow-up depending on the answer to your question. So signify how in you are on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think they repeat for the division.
Okay, that's it? That is the highest of the highs you will go with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
And they'll win a playoff game.
Okay. Well, because I asked because would you bet Trevor Lawrence to an MVP? Do you assume that this transformation that we saw in the beginning stages of it, he will emerge from his cocoon as a beautiful, beautiful butterfly and be able to dominate the NFL to the extent that this team can win 12-ish games and he can win most valuable player.
I think it's entirely within the realm of possibility. What are the odds for him?
It's within the realm of possibility. I'm just curious if you were high enough to bite on something like that. He's 22 to 1 to win.
I am very pro Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
And to backtrack on what I was talking about last segment, a couple weeks ago, we previewed potential passing yards leaders, and I said at 20 to 1, I thought that he was a reasonable play to dive into from that standpoint. I think for MVP, it could be a worthwhile look as well, 22 to 1. I think that Liam Cohen has kind of figured out what's going to work for him. And clearly he's got a bunch of talent around him too. Like Jacoby Myers signed his extension. Brian Thomas, if he's healthy, he was obviously banged up last year. Parker Washington had a breakout year. Tight end Brenton Strange. Like there are a lot of weapons available to him to set him up for success. And he was somebody who, yes, I know you criticized the back half of the schedule largely that they had to face, but for him to be able to do what he was doing, and despite, like, we knew it was a 2-horse race last year for MVP with Drake May and Matthew Stafford, but for him still to garner some of the conversation throughout that run as a part of it too, I think kind of sets the stage nicely for what he could potentially do this year.
Okay. Just curious.
You disagree?
Well, disagree with what? Like, am I going to bet him to win MVP? No.
Well, I haven't bet him to win MVP either, but I don't hate it. I like him at 22 to 1 more than Brock Purdy at 20 to 1.
Whoa. How could you be like that?
Stop.
You love Brock Purdy.
Stop. Also, we did that whole Jag segment. We didn't even bring up Travis Hunter.
I mean, why? That was one of the burning questions. What is Travis Hunter? I mean, right now, the trade for him does not seem to be one that was, at the time, it was already somewhat questionable, and now it's even more so, considering it looks like you're not getting the two-way value from him.
Reportedly running over 20 miles an hour, though. He's ready to go.
Cool.
What's he going to be? I like you.
He's a wide receiver.
You do everything you do to draft him as high as you do, and to only get 7 games out of him and then still, like, throughout those 7 games not have figured out how to use him was crazy to me.
I should note, too, that I was one of the many who did pick Jacksonville to win the division as well.
Okay, there we go. And it was
congrats again. It's a very low bar. It's the AFC South.
It was. Were you surprised to see that it was all Jacksonville and Houston and not a one Indianapolis?
No, I'm not. I am curious to really deep dive into something maybe that I'm missing with Indianapolis, because I think the market's kind of high on them. We were talking with our boss Steve Cohen today, and he brought up like, "Hey, your Colts looking pretty good," and I was like, "Really? You think so?" I think they kind of stink. So we will see.
It's all of the people that like Indy, it's got to be all based around what we saw the first half of the year with Daniel Jones healthy.
I mean, one, I guess, but at the same time, we talked about this. We had covered this ad nauseum for those who don't remember. Remember, this defense was insanely opportunistic last year.
Yeah.
Not only were they getting turnovers, but the expected points added on the ensuing drives off the turnovers, they were turning turnovers into points like a rate that you did not believe. And I'm sorry, but even if you lose your quarterback, and Daniel Jones was playing well, I would challenge people to go really deep dive into what Daniel Jones was doing for this offense, because he was playing well, but he wasn't playing at an MVP level. So for him to get injured, yes, that hurts that team. The drop-off that they suffered after he got hurt, that also coincided with the defense going, we're going to play at our level now. And then you look at the loss at edge rusher. There's so many things. Yeah, I think that they're going to be a relatively poor team. So at the very least, our Titans, I think, should finish ahead of them.
Do want to remind you, as we've got football on the brain, that it's also contest season, and Winner Circle Proxy and VSiN are giving away 2 great prize packages this offseason to put 2 of you into the world's biggest football contest for free. One winner will get an entry into Circa Survivor, the other into Circa Million, both $1,000 entries. Both winners will also receive full season of Winner Circle Proxy service, a VSiN studio tour, come hang out with us, and a free month as well of VSiN Pro. You need to enter by Sunday, August 2nd, though, for your chance to win. Head over to winnercircleproxy.com/VSiN to learn more and enter today. Again, that's winnercircleproxy.com/VSiN. Our NFL training camp tour will continue in Miami tomorrow. Will we also be heading out to South Beach for a LeBron James announcement at some point? We'll see.
Yes, of course we are. We're waiting for it. It was accidentally announced by the team on YouTube.
That is so crazy, though. It's wild that actually posted, though.
I actually put a bet on the Winnipeg Jets to get LeBron James.
For anyone who hasn't seen it, the Jets, one of the teams of several that have put out like their own fake announcement now following what happened ultimately in Miami. The Marlins, meanwhile, also in action today. Last few minutes, if you want to get into a little Major League Baseball, Marlins and Astros among the several games to come tonight. We have 5, I believe, already in action here right now, but plenty more to come. What was top of your list?
Yeah, and speaking of that, just really quickly, the Red Sox at 6-3, so the Orioles are not going away. We're at the top of the 8th inning, so it is getting late early for Baltimore, but it looks like the Red Sox are on their way to a record-setting victory here. As far as today is concerned, let's go to a couple of places. First off, I'll be selfish, and we'll talk about the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim briefly here, because Reed Detmers will get the start. This game's coming up in about 30 minutes from now. Opposing one, Hunter Dobbins, who will get the start for the St. Louis Cardinals. Dobbins, 22 1/3, 5 appearances, 3 starts. We don't really see much of him so far this year. We've seen him in a Red Sox uniform, pitched 61 innings last year. Kind of know what we get there with him. But Detmers is one of these pitchers for the Angels that has put together some pretty good performances. Not like to the level of Walter Urena, who we saw yesterday, but still, Detmers coming off of 6 shutout innings against the Detroit Tigers the last time we saw him back on the 17th. One could argue that Detmers do better than what his ERA has indicated so far. 4.16 ERA, 3.27 expected, 3.22 fielding independent. And I think that you can make the argument that the Angels might be a little live here. They've shown some life in this series against the St. Louis Cardinals so far this week. And I think that looking at the price for them later today with Detmers, about $1.30. You can find Circa here, which is just under that price at a -128. I think a fair lay there if you wanted it. -122 was the overnight opener. And we should note guys like Joe Adell swinging the bat relatively well at this stretch of the season. So I think Detmers might get a little run support, be able to get Dobbins, and Angels can get it done against Dobbins and the Cards today.
And this game is relatively early. I wonder if we get another bounce pass like we did yesterday with the Sun.
Yes, we did. You liked that one.
that was cool.
Yes, the Shadows. I can't remember who threw it, but an intentional bounce pass to second to get the out. Absolutely tremendous. We should also talk about, by the way, the Dodgers and the Phillies.
That's where I was going to go if you wouldn't be so rude.
Okay.
No, I was going to ask you
what were your thoughts
because
on this?
that was the bounce pass.
Or were you just going to throw this to me to then explain?
Of course that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
But I was going to say that the bounce pass was one of the several great highlights that we saw yesterday. The other was actually a low light for the Phillies base running as the Dodgers ended up getting it done yesterday. More of the same, or have they learned from their transgressions today? A slight dog at home to the Dodgers.
That was clever, Stormy.
I hate you so much. You're dead to me. You're absolutely dead to me.
Nola's a pretty interesting cat because we have seen the strikeout numbers and we know what he's capable of. But last time out, pretty mundane, average performance against the Mets. Struck
Just
out
like
6.
you this whole segment.
Yep, but walked 4, gave up 3 solo shots against the New York Metropolitans. He's given up 4 in his last 2 starts. And if you just look at it, the homers have just been a really big problem for him so far this season. But really, if you just look at this recent stretch going back to the beginning of June, Aaron Nola and the word home run have been synonymous with one another. So I do wonder if that struggle continues. Lauer, though, you always talk about chasing the regression monster. Depends on how much you buy into some of these statistics, but 4.81 ERA, it's hard that you could look at a number like that and say, he's probably due for some negative regression. A 6.06 on the fielding independent for Lauer so far that we have seen in 76 2/3. I don't think I would be surprised if you see a Phillies team come out here, jump all over them, maybe get this game to go over the total potentially. 9.5, the number right now. We saw it open shaded to the under, but I think you get a relatively high-scoring affair, somewhat different than the one we saw yesterday between these two teams.
All right, last 90 seconds. Is there anything else that you like on today's MLB card?
Speaking of sexy, we've got a couple of good ones, but I think the other one is the second half of the, let's see, I think we have a...
How much coffee did you have today?
I haven't had anything, actually. That's part of the problem. Let's talk about Tampa Bay really quickly because I do think that this is worth mentioning. Jax is getting the start for the Tampa Bay Rays. Obviously, the Rays, we know what they are, finding themselves in contention for a top spot in the American League. But Griffin Jax is a dude that I do find some interest in potentially going against. You look at some of the numbers again, depends on what weight you want to put on what. Expected fielding independent is 361, but the rest of the projected numbers for Jax, not particularly great. And he's coming off of a start on the road against the Boston Red Sox, in which he got knocked around 5 innings, 7 earned runs, struck out 6, but did just walk 1. He can put up some pretty solid strikeout numbers, but I think we've been waiting for it to fall a little bit on Jax in terms of some of the negative performances. So do wonder if he himself is due for beating like a Blue Jays team total over potentially and taking out of the equation the need for the Toronto Blue Jays to win this game.
Some score updates on the way out here. Tied at 3 still in Pirates-Yankees as we get set for the bottom of the 9th. Red Sox up 6-3. Brewers with a 3-2 advantage in the top of 5. Giants up 3-0 in the middle of 7 right now and scoreless in the Nats and Rockies. We will wrap things up here on Money Moves when we return.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
SEC media days are so fun, media days in general, because you really never know what you're going to get day by day, and sometimes you get some fun quotes, and we saw one come through while we were in the commercial break of Ole Miss new head coach Pete Golding revealing his pitch to keep both Trinidad Chambliss and Kawan Lacey entering this coming season. He said, quote, Google Lane Kiffin, the dude they would have built a statue of here 3 days ago. Google his name right now. They wouldn't, I'll deviate and say, tinkle on him if he's on fire. And so they're going to do the same to y'all if you do that. It's pretty good.
Okay.
I don't think I'm allowed to say that word for FCC regulations.
I think you can. So give me the context of who is they that would not urinate on them if they were on fire?
LSU fans.
Got it.
Sorry, Ole Miss fans.
Got it. Yeah, okay. All right. I get you.
I kind of like it.
I mean, I like the rivalry. Again, they get to play each other, and the cool thing is, and Lane Kiffin's got to go there. So that's the best part about it, is having to trek out there.
Is it going to be like it when he went back to Tennessee and everyone was like throwing things at him? Didn't they throw like mustard bottles?
I was actually thinking of, I think it was Billy Napier who got into a fight with the Florida mascot. Remember that, like 2 years ago? I can't remember what. I think it was after the Miami game that they lost. They lost that game to Miami, correct? Or they beat Miami in that game?
I don't remember.
There was an early season loss in which reportedly Billy Napier walked by the Florida Gators mascot and he said something like, "Good job, Billy." And then Billy Napier got into a fight with the mascot. So if Lane Kiffin's getting into a fight with mascots, I mean, that's what it's all about.
I don't know who's more upset in the world. Would it have been Ole Miss fans at Lane Kiffin, or the people in your mentions about now your retweet of the Pat McAfee album, or the Rocky stuff? Like, you're just, I think people are more upset at you about things these days than anyone else.
Pat McAfee stuff, I mean, those people don't count. They're Pat McAfee fans, so like they're just. So
this is real though. He has an album that's coming out?
August 14th.
Are you in the pre-orders?
I mean, in today's day and age, I would assume I can just like load it up on Spotify, shout out LaMelo Ball, or anything else. So yeah, I mean, Apple Music is probably on there. I mean, if he was smart and he's a smart businessman, I would assume that it's readily available for anybody who wants to listen.
I'm surprised you haven't checked. I feel like you would be auto-download guy.
Well, amongst the former athletes that have turned into hip-hop artists, I guess former is not strong because some of them are...
Crosby?
Please. I always get the order of the name wrong. Somebody could correct me here. It's either Dalla Dame or Dame Dalla, but Damian Lillard is it Dame Dalla?
Yeah.
He is amongst the best of them, probably the best. Is it Clinton Dempsey, the former U.S. striker? He was a very good humorous listen at times as well.
I'm surprised that it's not Max Crosby, though, especially with the great music videos and everything.
Jury's still out. I think the album is on the way as well. The few that I've heard from Max Crosby, I will say, not abhorrent.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Okay, it is time for...
How much
what?
How much do I have to pay you to listen to the whole album for Pat McAfee?
I would listen to it
tip to tail
for curiosity's sake.
What if it was like, I have a feeling it's going to be like 25 tracks.
Is it country? I would imagine it'd be country.
No idea. But he says, a lot of headlines and narratives, if I was to die, I'd like my kids to know exactly who their dad is. So I assume there's some sort of Eminem Mockingjay, whatever, type track on there.
He was getting a lot of backlash because of how much he's being paid amidst all of the ESPN layoffs and stuff. So it's interesting that he posted that day. He's like, y'all hate me, then hate me more, pretty much.
I just don't think it tracks as much when you say everybody hates me, but then the network just backed out $60 million per for me. So.
Yeah, so a lot of people like you, dude.
I mean,
it's okay.
It's what I make here, but it's
obviously.
Please, still.
Last few minutes, though, let's get to the best bets like we always do. I know I have a few for the 3M Open. Do you have anything to add today?
So I do. It's a futures play, actually, and I don't know. I didn't know where to put this. We've talked a little bit about the Mountain West, but I brought it up with Dave and Jensen today. We talked about it at length, Dustin Sweetelson and I, who filled in on Pod to the Futures this week. Download it wherever you get your podcasts. Hawaii to win the Mountain West. So I was asked this the other day when I was doing local. I had not decided yet, but looking at the odds and finishing up with everything on the Mountain West, at 6-1, I think Hawaii is worth investing in to win the conference, Stormy. You know, you really look at some of the things that are going for Mike Alejado and the Rainbow Warriors. One of the things that you really like, outside of Alejado's potential projection and what he's going to be, getting better after his year in which he was actually injured and still played extremely well, this schedule for Hawaii works out pretty well. All three of the big boys, New Mexico, North Dakota State, UNLV, they all make the trip out to Hawaii. So you get to the teams that you are allegedly going to compete against for the title of the conference. They're going to have to make the tough trip out there to go and see you. The rest of your conference road trips, there are some difficulties to them, but you get to also take on some of the underlings, we'll call them, in the conference when you have to go and hit the road. You see this here. I mean, to the actual trek and distance of going to Northern Illinois and then to UTEP out from Hawaii is going to be relatively difficult. At Nevada, I guess. Jeff Choate and Wolfpack think that they're going to have some upswing there. At Wyoming might be somewhat difficult for a team based out in Hawaii. But I think this team's got all of the pieces that you need. And the fact that you're going to get every single one of these teams that are allegedly ahead of you in the odds to come out and make that trip, like it a lot for the Rainbow Warriors. So 6-1, let's go. That's plus 450. You can find 6-1 at BetMGM and FanDuel, I believe it is. So shop around. That was one of my big things, and it was just the SEC and the Mountain West, which I wrote for the guide and I'm still writing. Shop around for conference odds, especially. You're seeing a big difference in a lot of these prices. The SEC, it really stuck out with some of the different ways that some of these teams were getting priced to win the conference championship. So look around. It's like, I'll give you a difference here. Like, what are we thinking? Ole Miss, we talked about them today. DraftKings had 11-1. FanDuel was plus 950. Oklahoma, you like Oklahoma? And I'm just saying this for the example of it, but like FanDuel had 10-1, 13-1 over at DraftKings. Mm-hmm. So just shop around for conference odds. Either way, it's worth noting that Hawaii you can find at 6-1, and I think at that price, it's worth playing.
Hawaii average, I think, it was over 30 points per game at home last year. Yep. And you mentioned Alejado just coming back from injury. He played that entire season with an injury. He re-aggravated it. Yes, yeah. I'm sorry. But he had that injury initially, week 1, that hip drop against Stanford. He re-aggravated it throughout the season. And they were still the best offense in the entire league. So, imagine with him actually being healthy for a full season if that were to happen. I
heard this phrase used the other day. I believe it was from the guys at CBS. But I know that you're not as high on the Tavita Pritchard hire for Stanford. That is where Hawaii is going to open their season again this year. The term shadow coach for one Andrew Luck has been used for the Stanford Cardinal.
They're best buddies. They're very good friends, former teammates, all the things. Yeah. For me today, as we go down the best bets rabbit hole, I already know I'm going to be judged. I already know it's fine. But my job here on this show is to tell you what I bet, and that's what I'm going to do here. I bet Scottie Scheffler to win the 3M Open. I know he's a prohibitive favorite. It's plus 265. It's gross. It's terrible. It doesn't make sense. If you go listen to the Long Shots podcast, Matt,
you're not really selling me
Wes,
on this prior
I'm just saying,
to.
Matt, Wes,
say it with your chest.
Kelly, everybody, even Ryan Ballingy, who we had earlier on the program, was like, you can't do it. And yet I did. Because as I was talking to you before we started the show earlier today, he doesn't have to play in this tournament. He's the #1 golfer in the world. He is set for the FedEx Cup. He has had a tremendous season, tour leader in strokes game total. The only reason, in my mind, you play in this lower level tournament is because you got to get one. You haven't had a win all season long, with the exception of the very first weekend of the PGA Tour season, and you want to be able to add another W to the list. I bet him to win outright plus 265, and I bet him for a top 5 as well. If he doesn't win, top 5 has still been an auto deposit in your betting account if this is something that you've been playing. He's had 10 top 4s this season. Call it a sucker bet, call it unplayable, call it whatever you want to do.
What are we doing here? What are you doing?
I'm all in on Scottie Scheffler, baby. But I do have a couple other plays, too. I played – if I'm playing other people, too.
This is a John Harbaugh-esque sell on this bet.
I just want to say, if I'm playing other people, too – and I'm not like a weekly golf bettor. I kind of pick my moments, and this is just one of those moments.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, say it with confidence. You're like John Harbaugh standing in front of the Giants, like, this is the
New York
Giants, man.
It's Scottie Scheffler.
Aren't you excited? And everybody's like, no.
I also, so if I'm playing anybody other than Scheffler, though, I would do the winner without, because I just feel that confident that the gap between he and the rest of the field is that large. And if he wants to win and can just be reasonably consistent with the putter this week, he should be able to get it done. Tom Kim is another guy that I was looking at here, though. Maybe he could have the Scottie Scheffler-like bounce back after missing the cut last week to get back on top. It's been kind of a roller coaster of a season for him, but in this field, I feel like there's a great shot for him to be high on the leaderboard. Might end up adding him in that market, but won the Genesis Scottish Open, finished T3 at the U.S. Open. He's the best ball striker in the tournament, not named Scottie Scheffler. So those are the two guys I'm putting my money on this week.
Okay. I like it. I'm in.
Also, maybe Max Homa, too. But I haven't fully decided on that. Maybe
probably decide at some point.
I know.
Let's see. Before we get off the air, will the Boston Red Sox have won their 15th consecutive game? They will. How about that?
Will
Game's
they
over.
win 16? Because it's a double digit.
Yeah, right.
I mean, sorry, the double header today.
So game is over. 15-game win streak, tied for the longest in franchise history, going back to 1946. Again, a summer that you fondly remember. Deuce is the rap alias for one Clint Dempsey, former striker for the U.S. men's national team. Look up his album released in 2014, 13 tracks titled The Redux.
The more you know. On that note, we got to step aside. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. But stick around. Follow the Money is coming up after this. Pauly Howard and why can't I speak today?
Dustin Sweetelson?
Dustin Sweetelson in studio for you.
It's a big anniversary for Dustin today. You're going to crap all over it.
What's the anniversary?
I mean, it's one of the first, I think it's the anniversary of the day you got on the air, right? You were involved.
Is it really?
Well, there we go. Look at this.
You got to tell that story. It's great. Have a great day, everybody.
Man of the people right here.